If you want to pump your body and expand your mind, there's only one place to go. Mind Pump. Mind Pump with your hosts, Sal DiStefano, Adam Schaefer, and Justin Andrews.
In this super duper episode of the Mind Pump,
the duperest.
For the first 49 minutes with your introductory conversation, Adam talks about his new neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
Won't you be my neighbor?
Won't you be my neighbor?
Then we talk about small talk. I hate that crap. We talk about my daughter's starring role,
future Mind Pump employee,
in the play for her school. And then we mention Felix Gray blue blocking glasses and the dangers of blue light. Now, these glasses are awesome looking. You can wear them during the day. They're clear. They're not the orange, ugly ones.
Look handsome as fuck.
You're not going to look like one of those dorks.
They're one of our new sponsors. If you go to Felix Gray Glasses, that's spelled FELIXGRAY glasses.com/mind pump, you'll get free shipping and free returns if you want to get a different pair. Then Adam talks about his Organifi protein oatmeal breakfast.
Look out.
He had a huge punch bowl of oatmeal. Hope he doesn't get fat before we do our weigh-in. We are sponsored by Organifi. If you go to Organifi.com/mind pump, enter the code mind pump, you'll get 20% off. Then we talked about the benefits of walking after eating, Google's workout and meal plan, artificial intelligence.
Oh, shit, it's here.
And the future of fitness. I'd also like to mention our new YouTube video, Prone Cobra, improves your posture. Check it out. It's pretty awesome. The guy in the video is super handsome.
Cobra Kai.
Then we get into the questions. The first question was, what are our thoughts on Mike Mentzer's school of thought when it comes to lifting? Mike Mentzer, bodybuilder from the 70s.
Only Sal was alive.
He said all you need to do is one set, super high intense set per body part, and that's all you needed. And we debate whether or not that's actually effective. The next question was, this poor young lady, we feel very sad and very empathetic for her. Her boyfriend's farts are rancid.
Wow.
They're blowing her away. Poor girl.
We remember those days.
She thinks it's the weight gainers and protein powders he's taking. We talk about why it's probably not a good idea to take protein powders and stuff like that when your farts smell that bad. It's not a good sign. Next question was, what do we think of the recent movement against masculinity? Controversy alert.
Trigger.
It gets a little controversial in that part of this
we
episode.
got a little heated.
And finally, we end the episode off with some nice positivity. What positive qualities have we picked up from one another since podcasting?
I got crabs.
It is a group hand job in that part of this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Also,
we went all over the place. We went from trades to talk about the business. Someone who likes to know about the business will enjoy it.
Who knows? MAPS performance is 50% off.
This is it.
Ends. This is the final hours.
Tonight.
Final hours.
Oh, my
ends at
God.
midnight.
You better hurry.
Half off. Use the code GREEN50, GREEN, the number 50. Go to mindpumpmedia.com. If you don't get it now, you're going to have to pay twice as much later on. Again, mindpumpmedia.com. Use the code GREEN50.
I go yesterday to this Zanato's, which is it's right up the street from me. It's right down the road on Fox.
So it's a butcher, or is there
it's a grocery store? It's a market.
Okay.
It's Willow Glen's classy market.
Okay. Do they have the best sandwiches there?
Bro,
and meat? Oh,
their
man.
meat is. I bought a $60 ribeye. Like buying it from a butcher, it's like it was like a freaking 4-inch, pound and a half.
What are they feeding that ribeye? Ribeye?
Oh, dude. But
our ribeyes double ribeye.
But anyways, I walk in the place and
cannibal ribeye.
It's just I pull into the parking lot and parking lot's clean. I walk into the grocery store. The grocery store is immaculate. As soon as I walk in, someone who works there greets me and says hi. And I walk back towards the butcher. There's probably, I don't know, he's probably about a 60, 65-year-old black guy named Ernie. And I walk up right away, and he says, "Hey, man, have we met before?" Like, as soon as we walked up, I said, "No, this is actually my first time here, man. I just moved to the neighborhood." He says, "Hey, I'm Ernie, man. I work," and he tells me, like, when he works
I'm
here.
your guy.
Yeah, totally, right?
Oh, I love that.
And super friendly, asked me my name, and says, "Hey, welcome to the neighborhood." Adam gives me, like, a little fist bump. And then, what can I do for you? What can I do you for, man? And I'm like, I'm looking for a good ribeye, man. And he goes, and he starts showing me all the cuts.
He closed you. He gets commission.
Bro, just the service and that I felt and what I keep getting in this neighborhood. So then I go back home. I'm grilling up my steaks, and one of my neighbors walks up to and I have this front patio area. It's really cool. I like it. It's really roomy, and I have a real big, table that we can eat outside. Plus, I have like a wicker table, chairs, and everything, so we can hang out there. It's a really nice little setup in the front. And I'm grilling out there the ribeyes, and the neighbor comes walking by and kind of peeks his head over the fence. Hey, Adam, how you doing? I feel bad because we met the first time.
Forgot his name.
He remembers mine real well, and so I feel kind of bad. He comes walking over and says hi.
Hey,
just say boss.
Yeah.
Hey, boss.
Yeah,
Chief.
Yeah, chief, boss. What's up,
buddy?
Man?
Yeah.
Neighbor.
Champ.
What's up, neighbor?
Hey, champ.
That's what I said. Hey, what's up, neighbor? That's what I did. So he leans over and he's talking to me and stuff like that. Oh man, what you cooking up? And we're chopping up for a few minutes. And he says, "Hey man, just so you should, we're on a kind of a busy area over here, and even though we don't get very many break-ins, you might want to get like a little padlock right here because you have some really nice stuff that you have on your patio, and you never know." And he goes, I have one. You can come check out mine if you want to see the one I got. It fits really good on here, and just come by, just come over to my place.
Wow,
I'll show
that's
you.
great.
Right, and then
it's
he's
like old school neighborhoods.
Well, yeah. Then he's like, it gets better, dude. He's like, so the HOAs around here, they're real strict about putting things on your walls and stuff like that. But I'll show you where you can hide cameras, so the HOAs don't know there's cameras there for you, and then you can keep it on your stuff. He's like, come check mine out. I'll show you. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. And he says, hey, and then, just anytime you and Katrina leave town, just drop me your number and let me know you guys are leaving, and we'll make sure we come by the house and we'll keep an eye on it for you when you're gone and stuff. And I'm just like, man.
Boom.
Yeah, dude. Just
what if you're in a neighborhood that
jack the fuck out of me?
What if you're in a neighborhood that's
I see you got real nice stuff.
No, what
I'm willing to watch your place for a while.
That's the neighborhood I'm used to living in, bro.
What if it's a ring of swingers and they're just warming you guys? You know what I mean?
Oh wow.
Hey man, listen.
There's another angle.
You ever want to use my stuff? Just come over. And by the way, if you ever fuck my wife, my wife will be in the house.
I got this closet you might be interested in. Just open it. And there's things in there.
They're like warming you up. They had a meeting. We got some new neighbors.
These guys,
they're pretty good looking.
Yeah, the bed rotates.
The dude's kind of jacked. The girl's pretty hot. I think we should. What are we gonna? Okay, give it 3 months. Let's make him feel at home, comfortable. I'll get him drunk.
Yeah.
Then you're gonna find out what's really going on.
I'm digging it though, man. I really.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
It's really cool to live in a neighborhood where people communicate with each other. I hate to say it's
I'm not
rare.
used.
You're not like isolated. Like you're actually communicating.
Here's what tripped me out.
Especially when you have kids. By the way, if I feel really good when that happens.
Right. So okay. Katrina and I were walking last night. We'll go out. Last night we were walking at 9 o'clock at night. And what's great is I don't care if you're walking at 9, 10 o'clock at night or you're walking at 5 o'clock in the morning, because I've done that already both times. And every time I'm out there, there's at least 5 or 6 neighbors doing the same thing, exercising or walking their dogs, and everyone that walks by greets you and everything. It's just, and what it reminds me of, I grew up this way. It's been a long time. So I moved to the Bay Area when I was 20. And I bought my house on East Side San Jose, which is a little bit rougher side of town. I lived in a gated community. 2 of my cars got jacked. Like I've had some issues over there, and there was break-ins and things like that, and just neighbors kept to themselves. It was like that. Then I moved to South Side San Jose with Katrina, and a little bit nicer neighborhood, but still kind of keeps to yourself. Also had a vehicle jacked in front of that house, and there was break-ins. We had mail that had been broken into, so also not the nicest of areas either. And when I grew up, I grew up in a very small town, even though it wasn't like a fancy rich neighborhood. It was just small town. And so, when you drove by, it's one main street. People, you drive by and people wave out the car to people. They wave as you drive by another car that you recognize because you see them all the time. They talk in the grocery store. It's just, and I forgot what that was like to feel that way. Yeah. And
it's cool. There's downsides to it too. I can imagine the downside because sometimes
if they get too nosy.
Well, sometimes if I'm walking and then I see the neighbor down there, I'm like, fuck, he's gonna talk to me.
Yeah,
I gotta walk this way now. You know what I mean? Or I better pretend like I'm on the phone. I know I sound like an asshole.
Or like I owe favors. Like here's the thing. Like I love my neighbors, and it's great because like we do communicate like that, like you're talking about, and it's like I know what's going on and this and that, but then sometimes I know too much. You see like the cops show up, and you're like, wait a minute. Yeah, well, it was like it's one of those things where one of them has like severe depression, and so like it was like trying to hurt himself, and so it's just things that you don't want to like find out, the hard way. But like, there's also times where like I'm helping them like in building things and doing this, and then it's like, they're helping me, so like you have to reciprocate. And
it's funny,
my eggs, like we work hard to have these stupid eggs.
They're eating your eggs.
See, for me, it's like I have
to myself.
I don't like small talk that much because it feels awkward. So when you meet someone, like when you're neighbors, and it's going to be a 5 to 10 minute conversation at the most, because they're doing something, you're doing something. And so it's that 5 minute like small talk. And I don't like small talk. I don't know what to say. Like, so, hey, so what's going on? What'd you go this morning? Why? I'm working a lot. And, I just want to be like, hey, man, what do you think the universe is? Like, do you think it's like a consciousness? Like, you can't do that in 5 minutes. So I'm just like, okay, I don't know what to do here.
Well,
come over and hang out in my study.
You may have been conditioned the other way, because this is what I noticed, which is neat. It's neat to notice the transition that I'm going through right now, because I grew up in it for the first 20 years of my life. Then the last 15 years of my life, I've the other side of it. And now I'm back to this kind of community feeling. And I've caught myself, like when I first got there, like, I would do normally me. I'd walk by someone who's walking by, and I would be looking at my phone, or kind of like
give them the head nod, maybe.
Yeah, maybe that, or what that, where, I was like, oh shit, like these people all like make eye contact. They all acknowledge that I'm walking by and say hi, good evening, good morning, things like that. And I've had to retrain myself to be that guy, because I've conditioned myself to be kind of like how you are, just like, I don't want to get into small talk. I just keep going type of deal. But I feel this sense of community in the area, and I appreciate it. It feels awkward. I feel weird.
So you want to contribute to it because it is a good thing, even though like you're kind of reserved still. I want to do your own thing.
I'm just when I say that, that's me personally, but because I have kids, I do appreciate knowing people and knowing people around me.
Right.
I like that, because then you feel a little safer. I don't know if it's real, more safety, but you definitely feel safer.
It is. I mean, we had break-ins from the thing is, where I live, there's a lot of like vacation homes, and so there's open like cabins, and so you'll see every now and then like smoke coming out of one of them.
Like a squatter?
Yeah, like a squatter. So like a homeless person will come through, and like they'll find it, and so we actually put the smack down on that. And like my next door neighbor like was like, hey, I see smoke, and like come with me, and like we're grabbing like bats and
pitchforks.
Stuff. Yeah. And I'm like going in there, he's like, I need your muscle, this and that. Like, I'm like, all right, man.
Made Justin's day.
All right, man. I'll be the enforcer.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's do this. Anyways.
Yesterday I went to my son's. They have an open house where you sit down and you hear the teachers talk and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And so I go in there, and my ex was out of town. She was out of town this whole last week, and so I was there by myself. And it reminds me of why I disliked school so much. Nothing. The teachers are great. Everybody's nice. Nothing wrong with any of that stuff. But the sitting down in the classroom and hearing the person or the teacher talk, and she's got like a slide type of thing, and she's talking about, this is what we're doing here, and this is what we're doing there, and I'm fighting to focus. I'm like, I find myself like thinking about the business or my workout or something else. Like, oh shit, I got to pay attention because this may be something I need to remember. And it just reminds me of that whole.
Bro, I can't imagine you in that setting. You can't sit fucking 10 minutes in one of our meetings.
No.
Drives me fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, it's hard for me not to get mad, because I'm just like, that's just Sal. It's like, fuck it, I can't.
If I get up and move, I can do it. I can pay attention.
It's so distracting when you do that, though, because everybody else is focused in the meeting. Then you see this guy get up and he's fucking stretching in the middle of a conversation. He's like, Jesus, but you can't even sit in one of our meetings. I can't imagine school on a subject that you're, at least this business you're interested in. Where school, I imagine.
No, if we're talking and conversing, it's fine. It's when I hear and God bless Casey, love Casey to death. He will talk about a subject for it. He'll go on for a long time, and then I'll start to lose my focus. So that's when I stand up, and so I remember that. I remember how what it was like, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh man,
that's the entire school career for me.
It's funny though. One of the dads, he's probably listening right now, so give him a shout out, but. One of the dads, his son is my son's friend. He comes up to me, and we're sitting in the beginning of this whole thing, and he goes, "Hey man," he goes, "how did that all day workout come out?" And I'm looking, and it didn't register, And I looked at him, I'm like, "How'd you know I did that?" He's like, "Well, I listened to your show." And I was like, "Oh shit, he listens to our show. And then I thought about all the shit that I've said on the show, and I'm like, oh, fuck. The parents of the kids that, that my kids hang out with, whatever, it's good times. But you do at first get a little bit like,
a little bit of panic, when people say that, like, oh, yeah, I listened to this and that and the other. I'm like, oh, wow. This is real.
I used to feel that way at the beginning, but not so much now, because I feel like the show's really evolved. We found a way, and I'm glad we did find a way to still have fun, cut loose, and not censor. But then I think there was a lot of nerves at the beginning of the show, like when we first started, because we didn't know what the fuck we're doing.
You know what it is? What it is now is
we're challenging each other to be ridiculous.
Well, that for sure. But even now, sometimes we go off, and what it is there's people that you're not super close with. You're just friends with either through school or through whatever. And so the version of you that they see is that version.
The vajazzle, like, you know what, like that. That's what I'm saying though. Is like we've moved away from things that are like so. But it was like the shock and awe approach. I mean, it was part of the strategy when we first started. Was we were gonna have all this great information, but then we were also gonna be just totally outlandish over something.
Yeah, but I mean, think of all the people that that know this side of you that deep, and they just don't, because you don't have that close of a relationship. So it's automatically, sometimes I get uncomfortable even when it's someone I don't know who recognizes me, because they know way more about me than I know about them. And you can feel that. You can feel it when you talk to them, like, oh, they feel like they know me, and they kind of do. They've heard me for 40, 50, 100 hours or whatever. So it's just an interesting feeling. But then to add on top of that, it's someone I didn't expect, to listen to the show. So I was a little bit like. So
what's interesting, like, so at your kid's school, do they have like an app that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I just downloaded, this is the first time this has happened, because it didn't happen with my oldest, but my youngest, he's in kindergarten. And like I have an app to keep track of like all of his behavior, like all of his assignments, like communicate with the teacher, cool. Like real time. It's like,
wow, that's pretty cool.
Like, whoa,
you can see everything.
I was like so transparent. It's crazy.
It takes helicopter parenting to the whole new level.
It's almost, I was like, oh wow. Yeah. I like it. I appreciate it, but at the same time, I'm like, he's in kindergarten. What am I gonna like? He's like pasting stuff. Like what?
Yeah, no, but
I guess it's cool. Like if you also, like, for example, like let's say home life, like, and this wouldn't be common for you guys because you guys have a really incredible relationships with your partners. But imagine if you were a parent and you were having a rough time with your partner or going through something, and you have a kid in kindergarten, and then you notice that he's acting out at school. I could see that being a huge tool of like, oh shit, like what a great reflection. Hopefully most parents are aware like this. I know there's a lot that are not, but they have the smarts to realize like, oh shit, my bad behavior and my poor relationship with my spouse at home is affecting my kindergartner and his pasting skills. Instead of pasting, he's fighting, or he's poking people with scissors.
Corner,
whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like
yelling or something. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, wow, what a cool. But you're right though, Sal. I could also see the other side of that, the extreme side of taking a parent that's already a helicopter parent and just taking them to a whole new level.
To me, I'm just like, I like that I have it, but I don't like. I'm not like obsessed like looking at her. Yeah.
Oh, I told you guys how I told you guys my daughter was auditioning for the play at school.
Yeah,
Charlotte's Web.
Yes. Did she get it?
She got the starring role, bro.
Whoa.
She's Wilbur.
Whoa.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So she's going to be the pig.
That's
obviously,
amazing.
that talks to the spider or whatever. So I go to pick her up afterwards.
Now, was she excited? Was that something that she wanted?
She wanted that part. Okay, but she's in third grade, and there's all the way up to sixth grade that does all the auditioning.
Oh wow!
And so
she's going to get into like entertainment.
Bro, she loves it. I told her I when she came out of the classroom, I could see the look on her face, and she was kind of like, she was happy, but you could tell she was thinking in her head like, I'm going to do this,
Yeah.
So I'm like, so what's going on? What's your part? And she like hands me the paper, and I see Wilbur, and I'm like, and then all these parents are like, oh my God, congratulations, your daughter's whatever. So we got on the phone with my ex, so I could tell my ex, so she could tell her mom what she did, and I'm like, are you nervous? Are you scared? She goes, no, I'm so excited. I can't wait to do this. So crazy. I would have never done that at that age. To get on stage like that. I would have been afraid.
Seems like a natural fit, huh?
Yeah, and then they have all the rehearsals, and they'll say which parts need to rehearse, and she's obviously going to be rehearsing every single time there's a rehearsal because she's one of the main So she has to memorize a shit ton of lines.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
It is.
At that young age already,
It
too.
is. She likes it. She apparently she likes doing that kind of stuff. It's kind of cool. You know what I mean?
That is cool.
And the fact that we have a media company is kind of interesting. So, maybe later on she could, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
No, this thing's got to evolve sooner or later.
Like I said, we're building our
She can
staff
tell
right now.
our stories for us.
You got to have some kids, Adam. We won't need to hire anybody.
I know. Come on, man. Yeah.
We'll be all set, dude. We'll be all set. So anyway, so what do you think of the glasses that Adam and I?
I think you guys are. I mean, you look like nerds, but like intelligent. Like sophisticated.
Bro,
I'm
a little jealous. Actually, I'm not wearing mine, so
I'm in love with them, dude, and I'll tell you why. So I remember when we were first addressing the sleep thing, and I've been aware of blue blockers for a long time. I've just not been a fan of the dorky orange glasses, right? And I was like, all right, well, fuck it. I can at least wear them at night when I'm in bed and try and discipline myself if I'm on the computer and so that. And so I bought a pair. This was last year sometime, and I got them by the bed. And for a little while I was using them, but the thing that started to really drive me crazy was, one of the things that Katrina and I do a lot of times around 9, 10 o'clock, we unwind and we watch a couple of our favorite Netflix shows and we fall asleep. And the orange glasses turn the screen all fucking weird colors. And so and I did it a few times, but I was like, man, this sucks. Like, it ruins the experience of watching a show. It's like being colorblind watching a show. I can imagine what that feels like, especially being someone who could see color and then you don't. So it started to bug the shit out of me. And so then I'd be really inconsistent with wearing them. And so I was like, whatever. Well, then the Felix Gray relationship happens. Well, Taylor starts talking to them and he shows me the brand and I'm like, okay, this is really cool. Yeah. And they actually don't have the amber lens. And I remember the first time I tried them on and I was like, well, I don't know, because I don't get as tired. Like when I wear the amber ones, after about an hour of wearing them, I get tired. I can feel myself actually wind down. And I wasn't feeling that with the Felix Gray. So I kind of was under the impression that these just don't work as well.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't.
You're using them for the same exact purposes, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But then I find out that they're different. That's why.
They're made for daytime use.
Yes.
And they're made to protect, because you guys saw that study that came out, right? That showed how blue light is basically just damaging to the eyes. Yeah. Here's something else that
they're still trying to get a handle on.
Well, here's something else that we learned, that as you age, your eyes develop a pigment that helps protect them against blue light a little bit, but that doesn't happen until you're around 40. So when you're a kid, especially when you're young or a young adult, you don't really have too much protection, and blue light causes damage. They were showing that blue light pretty much at any level can cause damage to the eyes. And so these Felix Gray glasses are made for daytime use, especially if your job includes
computer
and
phone.
Of a computer.
Yeah. Right. And so the part that I found interesting was, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think she said that it blocks like 90% of the high blue light, which is what we get from the
high energy blue light.
Yeah, high energy blue light, which is what we get from the phones and the computer screens and TVs, but not so much from the sun, right? So you're still absorbing some of the blue light from the sun, but then when you have like these which this is what I really want it for, is because I'm on the computer. That's what I'm on the computer late at night, and that wouldn't allow me to wind down. I would definitely I would work for 2-3 hours sitting there especially looking at numbers and shit, dude.
Yeah, what's interesting is I always attributed that to like my prescription, because I have to have like reading glasses for just specifically screens, because my eyes would hurt and then I get headaches, and that was a real issue of mine. So I'm actually really excited to try. They actually have like reading glasses with like the blue light block, I guess, as an option as well. I didn't know that. So I'm trying to get those, but I was initially using them wrong too. So I was wearing the Felix Grays as I was like reading, paper, like old school, like books, and like now I'm like, oh wow. Okay. So after, that conversation with the CEO, it's like, okay, I'm going to use it every time I'm using my phone, because I'm always on the phone. It's been affecting me.
Well, so here's the thing. So I pulled up the study. It was from the scientists at the University of Toledo, and they figured out how blue light can lead to macular degeneration, permanent eye damage. And so what they found with the study is, so there's these what do they call retinol, which is produced by the eye, and it's triggered by blue light, and it causes all these chemical reactions. and they can be poisonous to the photoreceptor cell molecules that, and then they get damaged and they don't regenerate. And we're in a period of time. By the way, macular degeneration's on the rise, and it makes sense why. We are in front of these electronic screens way more than ever. And not only that, but at younger ages, way more than ever.
This goes back. We just had an episode recently where I kind of went on my rant of, I think we're in for it in the next 10 years on this thing, what we're going to see with these kids and some of the backlash from and I was speaking more towards the posture, but this is another one. Like, what kind of damage are they going to do to their eyes being staring at screens for? We don't have something like that where someone actually spent this much time staring at computer screens for 20, 30 years of their life and then doing it at such a young age. Yeah, all day.
That's it. They consider this. If you have a kid, if you have children today, right? Forget playing on computers and iPhones because they do a lot of that too. But even if they just do their homework, they're going to be. When I was a kid, I was never in front of a computer because nobody had computers, and you didn't do your homework on a computer. It didn't happen until I got into later on in high school. But kids today, even my third grader, she's going to do homework and she does it on a computer. Then, of course, they play on their phones or whatever. And of course, as adults, the vast majority of jobs today include looking at these electronic screens for a majority of the day. And if you don't, you still have a phone and you look at it all day. And so how do you protect your eyes against that? And yes, you can wear the amber colored glasses that do that, but then it changes everything different, and you're wearing orange glasses. The Felix Gray glasses are clear, and they block 90% of this, what they call high energy blue light. And then the company places a lot of time and energy in making them look good. Yeah. And so now you wear glasses all day to protect yourself.
Well, it's also interesting for me to think, because I remember we'll listen to somebody talk like Dr. Mercola, and they have all these things they're super concerned with, even Wi-Fi and blue light. And I'm like, okay, well, yeah, maybe, but that, how much is that really affecting you? But now you think about kids that are growing up with we were never exposed to that much time, with these new things and this new technology and these new, potential. Whatever they're doing to us, we haven't been around it as long, and so they're growing up with that. So the amount of exposure is going to be really alarming.
Well, here are the side effects of what blue light can do that most people feel, right? Most people know you sit in front of a computer too long or your phone, you get headaches, eyes start to feel a little blurry, you start to feel fatigued. Those are all the symptoms of eye strain that's happening from looking at these screens. And, it was Adam that convinced me to wear them all day because we got the glasses and I was just wearing them at night, like you did originally. And then you start wearing them during the day and you're like, dude, I don't get headaches anymore. So I remember I used to get a headache all the time when you're on your phone.
What I noticed, and I made this connection maybe, I don't know, I want to say it was and I think I mentioned it on the podcast. It was a good 3, maybe 6 months ago when we were getting into the long fast. And I did one of those 48-hour plus fast. And not only did I not, because it was on a weekend, so I didn't work that weekend on the computer. I didn't eat any food. And then when I reintroduced food and I went back to working on my computer, I was super sensitive. I was on the computer for only an hour, which is nothing. I could spend away, and I had this fucking massive headache. And then I did it again. I still had one, but it was less of a headache. And then when I noticed, it was because of course I couldn't stop working. I'm still working on my phone, still working on my computer. Sure, my body started to adapt to it, and the headaches started to subside. But the fact that it caused a headache because I was so sensitive, because I was fasted like that, and I hadn't been on my computer screen, this kind of light bulb went off for me. I wonder what I'm doing to my body.
A blue light bulb?
Yeah, I wonder what I'm doing to my body for it to give me that response initially, and then because I keep forcing, the staring at the screen, that eventually it just adapts. That can't be good. Yeah. And that was kind of the first time.
I'm wear them now if I'm on the computer, and then I got some for my kids, and they don't have the kid sizes yet, but I got the regular size. It's fine. And I tell them, put these on if you're going to work on your computer. But what else is interesting about that is the stigma around glasses in general has changed so much from when we were kids. When I was a kid, if you wore glasses all the time,
4 eyes,
and you could get picked on or whatever. Now people wear glasses just because they look cool. I mean, even I put them on, and I'm walking around, and everybody's like, "Oh man, those look really, you look really good. You look good in those." I'm like, man, back in the day, you didn't want to wear glasses. You know, it's so different. Adam, tell me about your Insta story, massive bowl of oatmeal, and how that's going to help you win this contest.
That's actually the first bowl of oatmeal that I've had in probably.
Dude, that was not a bowl. That was like a punch bowl of
That's
oatmeal.
my Red Bull. That's the famous Red Bull.
Damn.
How much oatmeal was in there?
How much?
It's it was 1 cup of oatmeal.
Now you measure 1 cup dry.
Yeah, 1 cup dry.
Okay, so what is that? 60 grams of carbs? No,
more than that. It's 70. It's like 28 and 28. So what is it? 56.
Oh, okay, so 56.
Yeah, so somewhere around there, give or take. But then I actually do blueberries, strawberries, and then I have the vanilla Organifi protein that I put in there.
It's good with oatmeal, right?
Yeah, well, you get kind of that because without it, oatmeal can be very plain. So in this,
you gave it a little more flavor.
Well, this was a bodybuilding thing. Even before we were sponsored by Organifi.
Apparently, they've been mixing oatmeal with protein forever.
Oh,
I wasn't aware of.
Oh, forever. I was doing this a long time ago. And like I said, long before Organifi came along and became our sponsor, I was doing this because what I put together a long time ago was, when I make the oatmeal, it can be plain and dry. You add a little bit of fruit and you add a protein powder that has flavor to it, vanilla, chocolate, whatever, and you stir it in there, and then now the oatmeal tastes amazing. And then oatmeal's obviously you're not getting any protein from that, so I kick the protein up with the protein powder from Organifi, and then I do the 3 eggs, and so now I have a decent meal full of protein. Now, I hadn't done oatmeal though in a long time. The reason why I did it was I did a carnivore day yesterday.
Wait, just meat?
I didn't eat all day long, and then I had a 1.5 pound ribeye.
I saw that, but you had veggies too, though.
Spinach. So I shouldn't say carnivore day. So I had a.
How dare you? You're doing it wrong.
I know.
Correction.
You're right.
Carnivore police.
Sorry. And I had butter. So I only had 2,000 calories the entire day. And basically, what I did was fasted, right? So the night before, I think my last meal was at like 6, and so I did about a 24-hour fast because I think I ate about 6:30 or 7 last night, and I cooked those big ass ribeyes, and mine was I think 1.6 pounds
all at once.
Yeah.
How do you digest that much meat at once? Okay.
I did, although I also went remember I said I went for a walk with Katrina last night.
Dude, walking after you eat it's like digestion turbo.
For sure. It's been like I've said this on the show many times. You talk about like little staple hacks that I've done now as an adult that I didn't do before, that I like forever teach every person that I try and help with health and fitness, and just teaching yourself to go for a fucking 20-minute stroll after you eat, especially a big meal like that, especially a big meal. Like if you eat a light, healthy, balanced meal, not that it's not important or won't help, it still absolutely will, but it's like if we go out to dinner, like we go out to a restaurant, or I eat something that's heavy like that where I'm pounding 1,500 to 2,000 calories in one meal, 100%.
Well, when you walk, first off, gravity helps you digest. That's why your mouth is at the top and your butt is at the bottom. It goes downward with gravity. It's also why astronauts often have digestive issues in zero gravity. This is a big thing that people don't know about. But so you're standing, first off, because a lot of people, what do they do after they eat a big meal? They sit or lay down. Terrible for digestion.
Right.
Now your body has to work against gravity. You're not working with it. And the second thing is every step that you take, the jostling of movement and the muscles that pass through the body, which are the hip flexors primarily, because the hip flexors, especially one of the main ones, the psoas, goes through the body and is surrounded by your intestines, your digestive system. So every time you step, you're literally massaging food down and into the intestines and helping it get digested. And so, like, for example, Jessica right now has been lately, we're trying to figure out what's going on. She's lately been suffering from a little acid reflux, which she's never really had before. But if she walks after she eats, she doesn't get it. And so that's what she's been doing so far as a very simple, treatment for that particular symptom. So it's
a game changer.
It's a game changer.
It's a game changer for me. And I also noticed too that it promotes better habits after that. So like you said, very, very common thing for most of my life I used to do, which is eat a big dinner, plop down on the couch, put my favorite show or movie on and relax, and then veg out for the rest of the night. Where now when I go for the walk, not only does it digest really well. I burn some calories. I feel 10 times better. Then when I come back home, like I'm more active. Like it's more likely I'm going to do the dishes or go work on a project or do something else besides just calling it a night.
Yep.
Because I'm still feeling good.
The other thing too is, and what do they call it? Postprandial, I think is the name. Is that what it's called, Doug? Postprandial meal or walk? I don't know. Activity. There's a term for moving after you eat, but when you move before you eat or after you eat, so let's say you work out and eat, or you walk after you eat, both of those significantly improve insulin sensitivity. So, and one of the biggest problems with chronic health problems that we have in modern societies is insensitivity to insulin, which turns into diabetes and other problems. And even before it becomes diabetes, it causes problems. Well, if you move afterwards, and here's the thing, I think a lot of people might be thinking like you're working out. No, it's a stroll. You're just going for a nice stroll outside. That's all you got to do, and you increase your body's ability to utilize those carbohydrates and proteins and even fats better. So it's not just better for digestion, which is better for your health, but it's also better for your health because you're making your body more sensitive to insulin when you need it to be. Because you're actually, the insulin now is spiked. That's what happens post meal.
It's almost guaranteed I'm getting laid that night too. I mean, it's a perfect time for, it's a perfect time for me to connect with my partner.
Oh, I see.
I mean, that has been like.
And then you don't feel all bloated and gassy also.
Right. I mean, I guarantee someone's had a wife or a spouse or whatever
that's never sexy.
That's like opted out of sex because they feel like they have a rock in their stomach, right? Nobody wants to have sex after having 2 pounds of steak right before. I mean, Justin may want to.
I make it happen.
Yeah, but. Yeah. I mean, when we go for
just
a walk,
lay on your side, honey.
It's been like this double hack for me. It's like the hack for the nutrition and the health benefits and the digestive system. Like that's a no-brainer. But then it's also been the second hack of, what a great time for me to leave my phone at home, walk with my partner. It's only 20, 30 minutes. Maybe every once in a while we stroll for an hour if like we're really in a deep conversation or just feeling like it. But, it's normally a 23, and then we have this opportunity to download each other on their day and connect to each other, which it seamlessly works right into the bedroom when we come home because we've got home. We're all, wired from work. Our minds are all over the place, stressed out, whatever like that. Then we have a nice, good dinner together, and then we go and we break for this nice little walk. And while we're walking, this is a time for us to reconnect. And then that's the natural transition to back to the bedroom and stuff.
It's a staple in many cultures. In many cultures, the after meal walk is something that is just practiced by a lot of people. I know in my family, after eating and walking, it's a big deal. It's what we tend to do. Me and my dad will go for a walk and have conversation or whatever. And they've always said it ever since I was a kid. The way they've said it is, let's go walk because it'll help our digestion. And when you're a kid, you don't get it, Why the hell adults are so preoccupied with digestion. I used to think that was so funny. Yeah. But it's very true. It's very, very true. And again, when you see things that are part of cultures for long periods of time and when they're a part of multiple cultures that really don't have any communication with each other, then you know that there's probably something to it. And again, I don't remember there's a term for it, but it's post-meal walking.
Well, I talk about it like crazy now just because I know I laughed about it as a trainer early on. So I feel like it's necessary that I explain it and talk about it so much because I feel bad, man. When I was in my 20 to 25, if I was training a client and they brought up walking or talking about walking, I'd be like,
waste of time.
Yeah, waste of time. You need to be in the gym. You need to be lifting weights. You need to be running. You need to be doing this. Like the thought process was just so different. And that's just because my mind wasn't there. It wasn't mature. It wasn't old enough. I hadn't experienced enough. And now
they didn't teach it.
Right, exactly. We don't talk. Obviously, if I was a smart enough kid then that if I had me telling me that, like I'd be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I can connect that and I could help people out.
Dude, every old client I ever had loved to tell me about like how they pooed. You know what I mean?
Like it's
they just love to talk about. Oh, today was so difficult and
it's true.
I was really struggling.
It's true.
Like oh my god,
my grandfather. If you felt anything other than good, his cure was that you need to go take a poop. He would always say, like, no matter what, like, what's the matter? How you feeling? Oh, my knee hurts a little bit. You know what you need? You need to go take a nice poop. Like, what do you mean my knee hurts? What the fuck are you talking about? No. You take a nice poop, you feel better all over the place.
I get some coffee.
But
and
you know
then
what?
Kaboom!
You know what though? It makes sense because if my knee hurt and I went and took a good poop, I still would feel better.
Yeah.
I still would feel better.
It is
so
true.
you guys hear about this? It is postprandial, by the way. Prandial. Yep. So did you guys hear about Google and what they're doing right now?
Yeah. The personal trainer.
Well, so
I'm sure it's going to be super accurate.
they're calling it Google Coach, and it's a Google wellness product powered by artificial intelligence. Now, here's the thing with this kind of stuff. Is it going to make a huge dent? I don't know. Google's got a shit ton of money, and their AI is pretty fascinating. But if it doesn't really impact the industry now, I think it will as it gets better and better, right, over time. But I was reading about what some of the stuff that it's supposedly going to do. It's gonna be proactive, so it's gonna be informed by your calendar, appointments, reminders, logged activities. If you skip a gym day, it'll kind of tell you to go to the gym. If you're falling short of your fitness goals, it'll suggest workouts and routines that'll help you do it. It's also going to track your nutrition, the foods you consume, and use other signals like your location, so like where you're at, to make recommendations. Yeah. Then when you're at a restaurant, it'll point you towards healthier menu options. It'll help you with grocery shopping. It'll email you weekly meal plans that are personalized to your schedule.
I saw this with Neutrino and he was like showing me what they're working on. Like this has all been in the works with a lot of different companies. I think that now Google like really incorporating this and trying to tackle it that's actually gonna be something substantial for sure.
Dude, it's gonna be pretty crazy.
Listen, there's no doubt in my mind that this is the future of where fitness will go, and it's also why we did what we did. I mean, the trainers that were still working in the gym, the normal 9 to 5, train your 8 clients, and I did not see that around in 10 years, man. I mean, we were so behind. We saw tech move, and we're in the Silicon Valley, so of course we see things accelerate a little bit faster than probably the rest of the country. And I was watching and training all these clients and seeing all this technology just continue and all these industries accelerating in this type of stuff, right? And I was seeing fitness not change. Like we weren't changing anything. Like the model of how we did everything was the same when I started to 15 years later. Yeah. And I knew that we had to move into this digital space, and I'm fucking pumped to be positioning ourselves the way we're positioning ourselves with things like this, because Google is going to do a great job of figuring out all the algorithms and how the back end all works like that. But I guarantee they're going to need guys and people like us
always
to make that connection and the human element to it.
Absolutely.
Because that's where I know a lot of trainers are going like, oh, it'll never work. Well, I don't think it'll never work. No. I wouldn't count Google out.
They're going to start with all the standards, right? Like, and they have like generic, benchmarks and advice, and they're going off of like whatever data that they have to go off of. They don't know like how to discern the individual. Like at that point, like they need a lot more coaching, and maybe when they start like tracking how the coaches like answer everything for everybody and like intelligently, it'll start to kind of
think about
get
it this
in that
way. Imagine if you're a client, right, and the challenges that clients have, especially with nutrition, because that's where I think the greatest application is going to be with nutrition. And let's say you, with your Google AI, you enter in your target calories and your macros, so your proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. And because it tracks what you eat and what you whatever, it knows the foods you tend to like to eat and the foods you don't tend to like to eat. And you have your first meal and you just eat whatever you want. Now it knows what is left over, and it can make suggestions and say, hey, for lunch, we suggest 4 ounces of chicken, 1 cup of rice, or whatever. It's going to make suggestions, or it's going to show you at a restaurant. It knows what your targets are. It'll say, hey, this meal fits your targets. We suggest you eat this meal. That's fucking brilliant, because one of the biggest challenges with nutrition is, what do I eat? How often do we get that? What do I eat? Tell me what to eat. I don't know what to eat. You got to teach them how to count, how to track, whatever. Imagine if you could just go to a restaurant, or based on your location, like it said, I enter into my phone, I want to go to lunch. Where should I go? It knows what your macros are, what you ate. It already aggregates all the data from the restaurants around you, because it'll be easy for the do.
I've seen that, and I've seen that in Neutrino's platform where they had like, I'm paleo, right? I'm paleo, so like based off of the menu, like in the surrounding area, it could like give you like those specific items that you might want to focus on. So,
but knows your macro.
You got DoorDash, available, so then you don't even have to go there. You just order it, through DoorDash,
dude,
or whatever.
Because one of the like you have the meal delivery services, or back in the day, right? It was Jenny Craig and whatever, and you buy their meals and you lose weight. But then it sucks because there's no variety. You have to always buy their meals, and you're not set up for the real world, where in the real world, there's about 1,000,001 decisions you can make when it comes to food.
Yeah.
And for somebody, and I know this is when I train clients, it's the most difficult thing to coach. It's like you have to teach them how to make those decisions and navigate the food market based on their goals, their bodies, and what's around them. You have to coach them on how to navigate that. Well, imagine if you have something that knows what your targets are, it knows what's around you, and it'll literally show you the meals that will work for what your targets are, knowing what you already ate. Or it could say, like it knows you ate breakfast and lunch. Now you have this many grams of protein, fat, and carbs left. It'll say, here's the meal we recommend from Taco Bell or whatever. Like how easy could that be?
No, I think it's. I mean, I'm Mr. Tool guy, right? I love all these tools. I think it's just more
Mr. Tool. I don't know if you
Adam
want
the Tool Man Taylor. Yeah.
I like all of them. I'm rocking my Fitbit. I use my Fat Secret on a regular basis. I mean, these things. I mean, it is, and that's how I use it. Is just a collection of data. Because here's the thing: at the end of the day, you still have to make the choice to not eat that fucking.
Oh, of course.
And let me tell you. I know all the science. Yeah. I got all the tools.
It's still hard.
It's still geared towards the nerds who care.
Right.
Like it's not geared towards your average person that just struggles on a day-to-day basis.
You know what, though? I'm going to tell you something right now. So how often do you use voice-activated stuff on your computer, phone, and TV?
Yeah.
How often do you use it?
Oh, I use voice-activated stuff all the time.
You do? Okay.
Yeah.
So I use it sometimes also. And our generation tends to use it sometimes. My kids... 100% of the time.
Like all the time.
Yeah. The generation coming up, they don't have a problem with all this technology and the way they use it, whatever. People our age and stuff, it takes us a second to, get. So my prediction is this first rendition, it might go well, it might not. I think this is just a sign of what's going to happen 10, 15 years from now. I think it'll be the norm.
No, to me, it's exciting because big players are starting to give a shit about like health and fitness, like Google, like Apple and them have been flirting with it and like having, like ways to basically aggregate. Like, so if I have tools, it's trying to put it all in its own little kit, and its own little platform where you can like reference it. But they haven't really like dove into, this industry. And once tech really decides like, oh, okay, this is valuable. Like there's a lot like moving as far as digital health, but it's mainly on, a lot of startups around like medicine and, ways to innovate and provide medicine and be able to deliver it and, like get like a patient to doctor relations and all that established on confidential levels. But, we haven't really they haven't even really tapped fitness yet.
It's going to be a big rate. The question is, when you talk about Apple like that, is that by design? Like, did Apple do that intentionally?
I'm
because
sure.
that's their strategy and everything else. They pretty much let somebody else go do it first.
They let everybody innovate, and then they bring in the big money, the big guns.
They come in and they do
the best engineers. And they just destroy.
So I wouldn't sleep on Apple at all, and I wouldn't sleep on Amazon either. I wouldn't sleep on any of these monsters, man. The big four. I tell you what,
Amazon.
The watch is a big advantage, man, because you wear it all the time, and that thing has the most potential tools that will be accessible out of all the things.
Well, Amazon. Speaking of Amazon, they came out with their own supplement line. Did you see this?
Yeah,
they now have.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Amazon. And you saw that coming because 3 years ago now, it's been 3, maybe even 4 years, they started streaming the
Olympia. I think it was two or 3 years ago.
Yeah, I think it's been at least that.
Yeah, now everybody buys supplements on Amazon.
They just backdoored the fuck out of them.
Totally.
If you're Amazon,
this is like fucking bodybuilding.com with their pants down right there.
Bro, if you're Amazon,
sure, come on in.
Yeah, come on in, stream our fucking our main source of income.
Dude,
now everybody buys on our site.
They're screwed because if you're Amazon,
I would love to be in the
calculating all the money.
I would love to be in the boardroom for that when that went down. Like whoever's on top of bodybuilding.com that gave that approval of like, hey, this would be a good idea to get more exposure. Let's go ahead and let Amazon stream our bodybuilding.com. That had been one of the dumbest decisions ever.
Well, no,
now we're going to take all your fucking money by fucking selling the same supplements.
Well, the supplement industry is worth how many billions of dollars? How many hundreds of millions of dollars does Amazon alone sell through other vendors? All they have to do is look and see the money and be like, hey guys, there's like a $500 million amount of money that we're selling through our site. Why don't we just make our own supplements?
Amazon is just looking at whatever retail still exists. And they're like, oh, yeah? You like to buy that shit? Yeah. Oh, yeah, cool. You could probably buy it here now for cheaper, and it'll come to you.
And they control the top of the funnel. So if you type in at the top protein powder, what do you think the first fucking thing's going to be that shows up?
Yeah.
It's going to be Amazon. And we know now that the first few things that pop up on Amazon can make or break your supplement. Like if you pop up right away, you're going to sell. See, look, protein powder, first one, Amazon brand.
Oh, wow.
See? They own it. It's there. What would you do if it was your company?
Oh, it's so gangster.
Yeah, good luck, everybody. Yeah. And what's the price?
And it's cheap, bro.
It's cheap, yeah.
And it's cheap, dude.
Sorry, Nutrition Shop, or whatever else, the GNC, and
oh, man.
Those guys are going to disappear.
Yeah, so we're seeing the
let's look at the ingredients.
The race in the automobile, right? The self-driving car with all of them, and you're going to see them racing on the nutrition fit. I mean, the fitness is really, why? No one gave a shit about it 10 years ago.
Yeah,
it's a growing industry, and we haven't slowed down. It's continuing to grow, and as more people get fatter and more people are dying sooner,
we're hitting a pinnacle of unhealthy, and so everybody's like, oh shit, we got to take care of this.
Is it artificially sweetened there, Doug? It is
sucralose.
Amazon, you're not listening to Mind Pump, are you?
Oh, Amazon,
yeah, it's bad.
But that's what
you have to catch up.
And again, that's why I think what we're doing is great because there'll still be a need and market for people like ourselves that are helping people navigate all this information, which I think we'll be in a great position to have conversations with people like this. So it's exciting though. I mean, I'm glad, and it just confirms why we had to go this direction, and I totally encourage.
Yeah.
Fitness professionals, because we have a lot of them that listen to this show, that don't just settle.
Don't be a dinosaur.
Yeah, do not just settle for training one-on-one clients in person and camps and classes, because the future is upon us, man. And you're going to start need to get some digital real estate for sure, whether that be in podcasting and on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. Like, you need to start establishing that. Otherwise, you're going to get gobbled up by these quickness.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
This Quah is brought to you by Organifi. For those days you fall short on getting your organic veggies or whole food nutrition, Organifi fills the gap with laboratory-tested certified organic superfoods to help give your health and performance the added edge. Try Organifi totally risk-free for 60 days by going to Organifi.com. That's ORGANIFI.com. And use the coupon code MINDPUMP for 20% off at checkout.
Our first question is from Derek Moylan. What are your thoughts on Mike Mentzer's school of thought when it comes to lifting?
So you guys,
we covered this.
I've talked to you guys about
super intense, right?
Yeah. So Mike Mentzer and his brother Ray. So Ray and Mike Mentzer were bodybuilders in the 70s and early 80s, and Mike, the kind of physique that Mike had was extremely impressive. He had this really blocky, just granite hard looking muscular physique, really, really wide shoulders, relatively narrow waist, and his muscle shape was insane. And when he flexed and whatever, it just looked quite impressive, especially among the other 70s body. He was, what he looked like? It was like you had Frank Zane on one hand, and he would be the other side of the spectrum in terms of bodybuilder. He looked like that kind of a bodybuilder.
Mass. He was all mass compared
just
to
mass, and just kind of looked, and maybe Doug can look him up so you can see his picture. And
I've seen him.
Yeah, if you give him a kind of a critique, but. The other thing about Mike Mentzer that was so different was his training philosophies. Now, you got to consider back in the 70s, bodybuilding was ruled by volume. It was all about volume, and bodybuilders would push volume to insane levels. There he is on the very left. See how he had that kind of powerful-looking Herculean type physique?
He just looks really strong, not necessarily
real full muscle belly.
Yeah, very thick-looking kind of body.
Yeah.
And
great physique, man, especially at that time, right? I mean, arguably one of the best, probably.
He did. There's a lot of controversy, by the way, in the 1980
He's like
Mr.
a buff
Olympia.
Tom Selleck.
Yeah, it was because of his mustache.
Yeah.
Was that him next to Arnold?
That's the 1980 Mr. Olympia.
He looks better than Arnold. I don't care what anybody says.
Well, that was the controversy.
What's his height, though? How tall is he?
Short.
He does.
He was short.
Okay, so that's where he gets his loss right there. I mean, if you got Arnold if he's short, he looks great. But so did Columbo. You know what I'm saying? Columbo looked amazing.
Yeah. I know he's taller. He was taller than Columbo for sure, but he wasn't very tall. But yeah, the controversy there was Arnold came back to compete in the Olympia, was 15 pounds lighter than he ever was, and a lot of people thought he should have got maybe top 5 at the best, and he wins. And of course, Arnold is Weider's best friend and the most popular bodybuilder of all time. So there was him and Mentzer got into it backstage. Almost got into a fist fight.
Really?
Yeah, it's a really famous story, and there's a lot of controversy around it.
Who do you think would have won?
Oh, in a fight?
Yeah.
Arnold? Arnold is so
he's
big.
tall.
Yeah, he's
big.
big.
He's got long arms.
Yeah, and Arnold's
he's
also
the Terminator, dude.
Yeah, see, look how
but that's movie shit.
Doesn't matter,
Is he
dude.
really a badass? I don't know.
You have to embrace the role. He's got a little.
You guys worship him.
Yeah.
I get that.
Look how small Arnold was in the 80 Olympia compared to his previous.
How can you not love a guy who comes from another country? English is his
Don't
second
get
language.
me wrong. I love him too.
And come over and fucking work his way. And win like this, and then go and make movies, and then go work his way into government. Like, what else do you want the guy to accomplish?
Mary-
I know,
Kennedy.
but he looks strong as fuck. I don't know. That might be, one of his punches might hurt him real bad.
What they did in this picture too, I mean, Arnold's relaxed right there, right? He's relaxed and slouched over, and Mentzer is in a full core Titan posture pose.
Well, Mentzer didn't even get second, so I think Mentzer got third in that contest.
But he looks great. Right?
But he got really pissed off. So anyway, in those days in the 70s, all the rage when it came to bodybuilding training was super
steroid driven,
super high volume. It was very high volume to the point where some bodybuilders like Serge Nubret, sometimes he would do as many as 50, 60 sets per body part in a workout. They were literally pushing the volume.
That's where Joe D get it from.
As far as they could possibly go to see what they could possibly do. Then you have Mentzer, who
put that in a PDF.
Yeah. Then you have Mentzer, who comes out and he learned from Arthur Jones, who's the inventor of Nautilus exercise equipment. And Arthur Jones basically, says, hey, all you need to do to get the muscles, to get the signal for the muscle to grow is one super hyper intense set. Once you've done that, the signal is sent, and all you need to do is sit back and recover, and your muscles will grow. And so this was the approach that Mike Mentzer had. And he wrote this book called Heavy Duty. And in the book Heavy Duty, you literally are doing one max out, all out set per body part once a week. So like Monday was chest, shoulders, and triceps, I believe. Wednesday was back and biceps, and Friday was legs. But you're literally doing one all out set to failure, and that's it. So your workout was short.
How many times would you frequently hit that muscle though?
Once a week.
That's it?
That's it.
Wait a second. How would that doesn't make sense.
How sore
that is what he would promote.
One set.
Yep.
One exercise
That's
per
it.
muscle group.
That's it. And
one type of you worked out. So what do you work out? 5. Well, what do you paired 3 muscles together? So what do you work out? 3 days?
Yeah, 3 days a week. So what he would do is now he probably did a little bit more volume, but there were times when you do exactly that much. But the book he wrote, that's how it was written out. And then he would say things like you want to do and he would do supersets to increase the intensity. So like for chest, you would go flies to failure, straight to a press to failure. And the reason why I said this, you want to pre-exhaust the chest because your shoulders and triceps may fail before. This is what he wrote about. And it was all about going to failure. That's what it was all about. If you didn't go to failure, then you weren't 100% sure if you sent the muscle building signal. And this was his theory. Now, he sold a lot of books because he looks impressive, and so does his brother Ray. And a lot of people tried following his routine, and some people...
A couple people died.
No, some people said it worked for them. Dorian Yates, his training style was from Mike Mentzer. Now, Dorian Yates did more volume, and the way Dorian would train is he would do four exercises per body part, but he would only do 1 set to failure for each exercise. Still way less volume than most bodybuilders, especially bodybuilders, pro bodybuilders, right? So this was his approach. Now, I have personal history with this. So when I first started working out, I got Arnold Schwarzenegger's book or Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding, and I read it cover to cover, and I followed his routines, and his routines were super high volume. So I was doing, I'm 15 years old, I'm doing 20 sets for chest and 20 sets for back, and I'm doing an insane amount of exercises, and I was gaining some strength and some muscle, but I think it was just on accident because I'm 15. My testosterone level is probably higher than it's ever been in my life. I'm eating a lot of food, but the progress was real slow. I started reading Mike Mentzer. He used to write for Iron Man magazine all the time, and I buy his book, Heavy Duty. And I remember when I first got the book, and the reason why I bought it was because he looked super crazy and he sounded smart. So I buy this book, I open it up, I read what he has to say, and he convinces me this is the way you're supposed to train. Because he sounded very scientific. Send this signal, leave the muscle alone, let it recover and build. And I remember thinking, like, that makes sense. All I got to do is send a signal. So I followed his routine, and I gained 5 pounds so fast. Like, boom, muscle came on my body real quick. And then that was it. My body stopped responding. Nothing happened. I stuck to it religiously, hard-headedly, and nothing happened, and I had to get out of it. And we all know why my body grew. It was so different from what I was doing before. It was the exact opposite. But it's definitely not a type of training that's going to benefit most people, at least not for longer than even a month. And there's been times in my fitness career where I've gone back and experimented with this, and the most I could ever squeeze out of something like this is a couple weeks. And the sets have to be really fucking intense. And let me tell you something. Squats to failure, to real failure, because sometimes people think they go to failure when they're doing squats. No, there's more reps in you. Trust me, I've pushed it that far. I did a set with, and this was during the height of my strength and everything, I did a set of squats with 315. I did 20 reps. And when I hit 12th rep, I thought I was failing. And I was training with my buddy, and he's like, keep going until you have to leave the bar on the rack. And I got to 20. So imagine that, feeling like you're failing at 12, squeezing out 8 more reps. It was terrible, and it would get me stronger, but again, it would last for like a week or two because it was just such a radically different stimulus. Today, I never recommend this kind of training. In fact, studies now support that going to failure, first off, is too much intensity for most people. Second off, volume and frequency are very important signals for muscle growth. It's not just intensity. So if you increase your volume, you'll typically build more muscle to a certain point. And if you increase your frequency, especially the more advanced you are, the more muscle you'll build. And today, I can confidently say that most people should probably hit a body part 2 to 3 days a week, and your total weekly volume anywhere between 15 sets, maybe 12 sets at the low end, and maybe 25 sets at the high end total per week per body part is typically where I've found it.
They say the sweet spot is between 10 and 20 for a week per person, because there's going to be an individual variance. But it was just reading something that said that, or watching a YouTube video talking about this exact topic when addressing volume, and we've kind of just told everybody 10 to 20 has been the sweet spot. But stuff is coming out that you can continue to increase that and see gains going forward. But when you talk about the most efficient place to be for most people, it's in that 10 to 20 range. Now, the way I teach it, or the way I followed it in bodybuilding, because my volume got really high. I was well over 20 sets on a muscle group when I was at my height as a pro. But the mistake that I think a lot of people make, and I referenced the Joe D jab, because there's a lot of young guys that are trying to keep up with him. Now, maybe for a guy like him who's been training for a really long time, maybe he can handle that kind of volume, and maybe he's gotten great results by scaling up to that volume. But a majority of young people, or even people that are just in their first couple of years of training, they don't belong training at that high of a volume. It's just, one, you're going to be doing damage all day long in the body. You're not letting it fully recover. And then the likelihood of you being able to maintain that volume and keep that, even if you got some great gains from it, and that's why some people can make money selling programs that are crazy like that, is, I guarantee if you take somebody in the first 5 years of their training who's never trained before, and you throw 50-something sets at them, like, yes, their body will respond. It will adapt, and they'll see some results. But, 90+% of those people won't be able to keep that volume up. Shit, I can't keep the volume up that I was doing when I was competing at the professional level, because I wasn't treating it like a job. I was treating it like a job when I was actually competing. I was that competitive about it.
It also took you a while to get there.
Right. And
context matters.
And that was the important piece, was I didn't go right to what I was doing at the pro level. I mean, at the amateur level, I was very much so in the 10 to 12 sets per month. I mean, that's about where I'm at right now, 10 to 15. Like, I'm probably hitting 10 to 15 sets per muscle group a week, but depending on what muscle we're talking about. And I'm working my way up, but I'm still not even, I'm maybe 50% of the volume that I was pushing when I was as a pro.
Here's what I think. My opinion on, because I have met people that, not a lot, but I've definitely met people who've done well doing really, really intense short workouts and not hitting their bodies with lots of volume and frequency and build a lot of muscle. Now, we know that when you lift weights, there's a signal that's sent to the body to adapt, and your muscle protein synthesis spikes, and we can measure that. Now, the average person, that spike will drop after about 48 hours pretty quickly. But I think that there's some individuals that are out there, for whatever reason, and I think it's genetic, where they'll lift weights once, heavy and hard, and hammer themselves, maybe short, and that signal will just stay elevated. Now you throw steroids on top of that, and now you've got yourself somebody who can do one all-out crazy balls-to-the-wall set for legs once a week, and their muscles just continue to grow. I don't think it's common at all. In fact, I'll tell you right now, of the 3 variables that you manipulate with your training, intensity, volume, and frequency, I can overdo intensity far faster and easier on a client or on myself than I can the other two. It's really easy. I could take someone off the street right now who's deconditioned, and I could honestly train them for a full hour. I will manipulate and do proper intensity, proper form, proper, volume, all those things, and they'll be okay. But if I take that same person and do one all-out set of an exercise, I'll fry them or hurt them. Intensity is one of those things you really want to monitor. And for most people, high intensity does build more muscle, but all-out balls-to-the-wall intensity is too much. It just simply is too much for most people.
Riskier.
It just is.
It's riskier, like really like leaning heavier on that variable on itself. Like volume is definitely something that you can apply and be a little bit more measured with versus intensity can get away from you really quick.
Well, it's the same. It's the only one that I still don't think I have mastered. I mean, I think I'm really, really good at it. Mm-hmm. But, I just had it was a few weeks back where I overreached and hurt my shoulder. That was me pushing the intensity. Mm-hmm. And for sure I wasn't I didn't just get into a workout and say, I'm going to crush this workout. I was like, okay, I know I wanted to stretch myself. I knew I was going to do that, but I was still trying to just kind of stretch myself, and I overreached. It's really easy to overreach. In fact, it's probably one of the most common things that I see that trainers and the average gym goer abuses, because the message out there, I mean, it's all about motivation. Everything that we look on Instagram, it's all about the hype and the motivation and don't quit, and all these guys hyping you up to go get it and get after it. And, all these guys that are in great shape talking about, if most people don't want to quit and give up, and you got to push through that, and it's about tenacity. And you hear that message so much that you take that and then you go into the gym and then you slam your pre-workout so you can get that intensity. And it's like, dude, all you end up doing is overreaching, and you don't need to do that if you're trying to continually gain muscle.
And here's all the evidence you need that, because this problem with this message of intensity, the big problem is that, because what Mike Mentzer used to say, and what a lot of people in that space would say, is that if you're not going super intense, it's a waste of time. Like if you go and do
so not true.
Yeah, which is not true. Trigger sessions proves that false. Now, if you do trigger sessions consistently, and you do them right and you do them frequently, you will build more muscle and get stronger. And trigger sessions are low intensity. And I got that idea from watching blue-collar workers in my family who had muscular body parts that corresponded to the type of work that they did. I had an uncle who was a plumber, never lifted weights a day in his life. The guy's forearms look like a fucking pro bodybuilder's. Why? Because he's cranking on wrenches and shit all day. Now, is that intense for him? No, he's been doing it for 35 years. I'm sure his hands and forearms got sore for the first 5 months, but the rest of the 35 years, that was like cake. It's low intensity movement all day long, and yet the dude's forearms were more muscular than most guys I know who work out in the gym, and that's from that low intensity movement. So that alone proves that, as much as I love Mike Mentzer, as much as he was a hero of mine back in the day, I do not agree with his style of training. And we know this. Science now has supported this. The studies have shown that type of training, it can work for a very short period of time, but for most people it doesn't work.
Next question is from Rabri. How do I convince my man that his Rancid something died inside you farts are from his protein? He drinks the typical GNC weight gainers because he suffers from tall, skinny white guy syndrome.
Oh, man.
What is a better alternative so I no longer have to be surrounded by his acid butt cloud and he can still make gains?
I like this lady.
Back in the day, I used to think that
I thought it was normal.
That smelling, like really, really stinky ass farts.
Yeah.
That was normal because I was eating the right amount of protein.
Right.
That's what I used to think. Like, oh, cool. In fact, I hate this, embarrassing to say, but that was one of the gauges that I used as to whether or not I was eating enough protein. Like if I farted and it didn't smell real bad, I'd be like, oh shit, I need more. I need to be eating more protein. It's not enough.
Yeah.
You know, having really,
it's almost nostalgic, like you remember being stuffed in this like tiny box weight room, and inevitably like you're in there only for like maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, right? And just somebody just rips one, and it like the paint just peels off of the walls.
Didn't you say you had your roommate was just the worst?
He was the worst. I literally like I used to call him names and like just whatever I could come. Like I would get like angry. It wasn't like funny. He and he's like, he was like a giant, like he was like 6'8" and just like 300 and I don't know, like 70
he's like
pounds.
a legit giant.
Yeah, he's like a big dude. And so when he would fart, like it would hit this like primal button in me, and I'm just like, like it's so bad, like oh my god.
Was it like what's his name's fart? Craig.
Craig's.
One time?
It was just like that, but it was like on a consistent basis.
That was hot, dude. That was too much.
Way hot.
Yeah.
People need to understand.
That's a diet issue.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. People need to realize that if your farts, first of all, farts are not supposed to smell good, obviously, but they're not really supposed to have this terrible lingering smell.
If it burns the other person's mouth, that's not a good size. That's rancid. If someone farts in the room and you can taste it, dude, that's fucking bad.
when it's kind of beefy and when it's kind of chemically, like there's like distinguishing, and then there's the protein fart. That one I get like all these descriptors like she put in there. Like I remember that.
It's very sulfuric.
Yes.
Right? It's it's
eggy.
Well, do you think that's do you think that's probably what it's from? You're probably taking a lot of protein powder. And one of the best things that someone can do like this, that you can help them out, is to really push them to take in their protein through natural food. Like I definitely, I don't, if I'm eating, I could eat a lot of protein. If it's all food, I don't have a problem.
Yeah,
it's only when I'm high protein and taking protein
It's
powder.
interesting you bring it up. Like, so I've been carnivore,
right?
And I I have not even had bad gas at all.
You haven't. Your
not
farts
at all
used to be terrible. Now they're okay.
So calm down.
They're okay now.
Okay, they weren't that bad.
They were terrible.
They weren't crazy.
Now they're okay now.
Yeah. No, and so this is what, and I put this together a long time ago. Like when I would be taking the protein, the weight gainers, and I was doing the shakes. That was when, and I'm pushing 200 plus grams of protein. That's when I would get the gas. If I ate, last night, just 1.6 pounds of ribeye is 205 grams of protein. At 205 pounds of protein, I didn't fart.
Wait a minute, it's 205 grams?
Yeah.
In one sitting?
Yeah. Crazy.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's what a one.
Bro, your body only utilizes 40 grams of protein.
Yeah.
You just wasted all that
pounds. You know who shamed me today?
I used to think that.
Dude. So Christina Rice, so she did carnivore for like a week or whatever, and she's like, "Oh yeah, you don't have to go that low calorie." I'm like, what do you mean? Like I'm like up to like 3 pounds, like 3.5 pounds. I was stretching. She's like, I was eating like 4,
yeah,
5 pounds.
Yeah, Christina could throw
I'm
it
like,
down.
What?
You know what? I thought she was lying when she used to tell me that.
Yeah.
And then I had her over for dinner, and I made everybody a 1 pound ribeye. Everybody. So I had a 1 pound ribeye. Jessica had a 1 pound ribeye. And Christina had a 1 pound. And Christina is a tiny girl. She's not a big,
super petite.
She weighs like 100 pounds, maybe at the most, maybe less than that. And I saw that girl eat it and have a wonderful conversation and eat it like there was no struggle. Yeah. There was no like, oh my god, I can't finish this. She was just like, boop, boop, boop.
like I was literally like, I was impressed, and I was also a little embarrassed with myself.
Yeah,
my own,
you should be ashamed.
So
like meat eating capacity.
I would really push him away from getting his, and there's much better ways to get calories than weight gainer shakes, man.
He'll gain more muscle if he eats real food.
Yeah.
He will.
Yeah.
This is a sign, by the way. This is a sign that his gut is off. And when your gut is off, this is an important thing for people to understand, especially guys who want to gain muscle. And the reason why I say especially is because they're the hardest ones to get through to. So explain this to him. When his gut is off, he is not assimilating his food as effectively as he could, which means he's not going to build muscle like to his full potential. I know when my gut is on, I build way better muscle faster and I'm stronger. When my gut's off, I could pound the calories all I want. I could pound the food all I want. and I just don't gain as much muscle. My body's not assimilating the food. If his farts are terrible, that's a sign that his gut's off, and everything that he's eating, he's just not utilizing it as much as he possibly
basically
could.
Blasting out a cloud of half of that in the air.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if he switched that out for real whole foods, not only will his gut be healthier, but then he'll assimilate the food better. His total inflammation will be down, which means his cortisol will be down, which probably means he'll be able to raise his testosterone. Of course, less inflammation means he's got a more appropriate inflammatory response, so recovers better from his workouts. All of this means more gains, more muscle, less body fat. Your gut health is not just, I have bubble guts, I have smelly farts, or I have gas. It's not just that. It's a whole long chain of cascading events that all contribute to everything, including your aesthetics. So his weight gainer is not helping him gain weight. It's not helping him build muscle.
Well, and something that maybe try this too, because this is a shameless plug for our sponsor, Organifi, is it could be the protein powder.
Change up your protein.
Yeah, it could be because he's getting it from egg. So it could be potentially that.
Or dairy.
Yeah. So maybe try getting it from a vegan source and see if that helps him out. But I mean, obviously the goal would be to not have. I use shakes in order to get a target because I'm missing something, right? I know I'm gonna have a hard time getting today's breakfast. I wanted to include oatmeal. I hadn't had that before. I wanted to carb up from the day yesterday. I had 0 carbs yesterday. So today I wanted to carb up early in the morning for my day. And so I busted out the oatmeal. Well, I know if I have a cup of oatmeal and fruit, it's no protein whatsoever. And even if I had 3 eggs like I did, that's still low protein for me. So then I scooped the Organifi in my oatmeal to boost that. But it's not my go-to. It's not my ideal meal. My ideal meal is always getting it through whole natural foods. And then if I absolutely need to, then we're using these shakes to boost that. I just don't think it's ideal to go that way.
Next up is Amanda Kamila. What do you guys think of the recent movement against masculinity? Lots of people are speculating that teaching masculinity to young boys leads to toxic traits as adults.
That's horse shit.
Stupidest thing.
Complete. It's one of the most
It's an
damaging.
agenda.
It's one of the most damaging movements that we could possibly have. Okay, here's only the one example I need to give. First off, we don't have a masculinity crisis where we have too much masculinity in society. It's the opposite. We do have a masculinity crisis, and it's too little masculinity. 1 out of every 4 children today in America grow up without a father. That's 25%. In some communities, it's as high as 75%. No father present in the home. That is a masculinity crisis.
Problem.
On the opposite, statistically speaking, the statistics, by the way, are real. Okay, so this is real stuff. I'm pulling this off of, these are government statistics. Children who grow up without a father, 4 times greater risk of poverty, 7 times more likely to become pregnant as a teen. They are more likely to face abuse and neglect. They're 2 times greater risk of infant mortality, more likely to abuse drugs and alcohol, much more likely to go to prison, 2 times more likely to suffer from obesity, 2 times more likely to drop out of high school. I mean, it's insane to me that people would say that we have too much masculinity when we have this. By the way, 50, 60 years ago, there were very few homes without a father. Men didn't leave their, when people, first of all, divorce went through the roof. And then we have this culture where, look, I went through a divorce and I know this. And luckily my ex and I worked together. But I know how easy it could have been for her to fight to get most custody of my kids. It would have been very difficult for me as being the man. Sometimes this happens. The other thing that tends to happen is a lot of these guys grow up without a father themselves. Maybe their father skipped out on them or whatever. Then they get a girl pregnant. And to them, this is I don't want that responsibility. I'm out of here. And so a lot of these kids are growing up without dads. And we're telling, on top of that, we're telling these boys growing up that masculinity is toxic. Not only did you grow up without a father in difficult situation, now we're telling you masculinity is toxic, but you yourself know that you're a man. You know that comes with masculinity. Now you hate yourself even more. Yeah. Insane. It's absolutely insane.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
It makes no sense whatsoever.
What do you call that when we're trying to become all one? What'd you say?
Homogenized.
Yeah. It just seems to me like we're trying to homogenize our our culture, like trying to make us all just
equal playing field, everything equal,
Yeah.
and we're eliminating all of the unique characteristics that we're born with,
Right.
like and celebrate. Like there's differences for a reason, and why did we stop celebrating that fact? That's one of those things. It's like you connect with somebody else that has different traits with you, and you create balance. And there's there's synergistic effect to that, and there's a way that we move forward. I think as a family or as there's just these characteristics for a reason. I mean, this is all.
well, I think it's more like that. It's that simple. It doesn't have to be a male female thing or a masculinity thing. It's
somebody's going to assume the traits,
right?
If you role reverse that and you want women to have more of those characteristics, then a male is going to act with the opposite. So it's like if you want to role reverse it, then that's so. The thing about masculinity, it's like we're born like. And this obviously this goes to like how people are born. It's all different. Like we all have different variables, and like some people might have a little more femininity, versus masculinity. But the thing is, those are two very distinctive characteristics.
Yeah, no, the world needs good, healthy, strong masculinity and good, healthy, and strong femininity. You need both.
You need both.
You do need both. And why do you need both? Because that's how it's been, and that's the way we've evolved, and that's the way it should. Statistically, when you look at the numbers, it makes us healthy to have those both. Now, why are those two things? Because there's a lot of arguments these days about this, and it becomes this whole like sexist thing. It's not sexist. There's no one's being a bigot when we talk about this. It's the reason why it exists this way is because for most of human history, we had different roles. Now, if you look at the male and female gender, biological gender, the female gender, first of all, you need to have a certain number of females in order to promote, to keep the species alive, okay? This is why women have been protected for forever. You know the term women and children first, or protect the women. Well, there's a reason for that. If you have a society with too few women, doesn't matter how many men you have, the society will crumble. Because a woman can only have one.
If someone came in to want to conquer your city, all they have to do is kill all the women off. And
you're fucked.
You'd eventually be fucked.
You're fucked. Right. Now, you could do the opposite, and you could kill most of the men and have 10% of the men left over, but society would be just fine because one man can impregnate so many women, and one woman can be pregnant once for a 9-month period. So because of that, over thousands of years, these are the traits that have developed. The males were dispensable because we are dispensable. So what do male characteristics tend to be? Riskier. We tend to make riskier decisions. We tend to be the ones that are a little more aggressive or protective, because those are the things that tend to kill us. When you look at the most dangerous jobs in America, even today, when things are far more equal than they've ever been, where everybody has equal opportunities and people are very aware of the fact that, men and women should have the same opportunities, still to this day, the absolute most dangerous jobs you could possibly do are dominated by men. And it's not because women aren't allowed to have those jobs. It's because that's a trait of masculinity, is to do those types of things. You look at the risky business ventures, with the risky capital ventures, where someone's going to take all their money, bet it on the line. All this risk that's associated with masculinity, it's a necessary thing for society to succeed. But here's the opposite that a lot of people, I think, why we're in such the situation we're in now. A couple things. First off, definitely for a long time, women were oppressed by men. So I get that, and that needed to be corrected. But then there's another side to it, and it's that a lot of people, and including a lot of women themselves, didn't give credence to what femininity brought. Like it was like, so men do all the risky stuff, and they'll you're trying to say I'm not important. I want to do what what a guy's doing. I don't want that to be a male thing. I want that to be, and I get that, but at the same time, the femininity is equally just as fucking important. The femininity is what builds societies. It's what builds communities. It's the empathy that we find. And by the way, masculinity and femininity exist in both men and women, and a male can be more feminine than masculine and vice versa. It just so happens to be the other way around mostly. So these things are very important. And this whole movement against masculinity, to me, is absolutely insane. And to call it toxic masculinity, How about just calling it like shitty? Like
right.
Like
you're a shitty person.
Yeah, like if someone's violent, is that toxic
You're a
masculinity?
man, you're an asshole.
Or is that just
bottom line?
just bad? Like being violent is not toxic masculinity. That's just you're just being an asshole. Being oppressive, that's not toxic masculinity, which I've heard it be described many times. That's just you're just an oppressive asshole. Women can do it as well. They just do it at a lower rate, and there's all those statistics as well. And I do get it. Like men, we do most of the crimes. So if you look at crime and you look at who commits most of the crime, it's predominantly male. I get that. But on the other end of the scale, men do a lot of the other shit predominantly as well. And it flips with other things with men and women. So
and how many of those men that do crime would claim that they're doing it out of necessity too? So
who knows? But my point with all of this is we want to abolish all of this so much that we're not allowed to celebrate the differences, and we're not allowed to see the good in it. And now it's just like fuck it, erase everything, call it toxic, and it's attack men season, which is insane.
Well, it's just an interesting new agenda that's out there. It's like I've never seen so much confusion, in the world today. Now it's like everything's being challenged as far as biology. Like is under attack. Yeah. It's just it's very strange, and I get it. I mean, we all want to be super inclusive, and we want to include differences and people that have been minorities forever, and but at the same time, like, let's not ignore biology. Like this is how we're born.
Well, I love where we're at right now, because as stupid as this is, and I agree it's stupid, it's neat that we have an opportunity where we have free platforms like the one we're on right now, and we can voice our opinions. And you can see people like our buddy Ryan, who has the Order of Man podcast, which is literally like centered around this. Like this is his response to what he sees going on is his podcast, and it gets great traction because I think there's a huge need for it. And like I always say on this podcast, we tend to swing the pendulum, like in I'm sure there was somewhat of a need for this conversation. Like there's definitely toxic masculinity out there. Like it's out there, it probably exists. There's probably somebody that is causing harm to others, and it led all the way back to, some bad male figure that inbred these traits in this young kid. But to blanket statement the things that you're seeing right now, that could become dangerous, and it can also lead to us swinging the other direction. And I believe that we will, and I believe that podcasts like his are going to thrive because there's going to be a need, because we're going to see more and more of this stupid shit come out.
You know what the antidote to this is? The antidote to this is, if you really want to abolish all these terms and stuff, then just respect the individual. That's it. Mm-hmm. Just respect the individual and whatever that individual wants to do and who they are. And if it's a boy and they want to do traditional boy things, don't tell them don't follow that gender role. That's what you want to do. And if it's a girl and she wants to do traditional, or a flip and it's vice versa.
That is so irritating to me.
Let them do their thing, but you can't, look, I tell you, there's a whole generation of men.
Let people do what they want to do.
There's a whole generation of boys growing up without fathers and girls growing up without fathers right now. Like I said, 1 out of every 4. That's insane to me, and I think that's a big problem. And when we attack masculinity, what we need to do is we need to be telling guys, if you get someone pregnant, the masculine thing to do
is to be there.
You should be a man. What does that mean? You mean you're responsible, and you take care of your children, and you take care of your family, and you're involved in your children's lives. Mm-hmm. That's what they need to be told. Instead, what are they told? It's like this mixed message. Nobody knows.
Next question is from Tim Imbo. What positive qualities have you guys picked up from one another since podcasting and working together over the years?
Probably a lot. We're probably homogenizing.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm painting my toenails.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Let's list some of these off, because we're all so similar, but we're also very different.
There's certain strengths that each of us have that I think, I'll give you one with something that Justin does a really good job of, and I try and practice it because I tend to be more the emotional one that can react to a lot of things. He does a really good job of observing and absorbing all the information that's coming in and gathering his thoughts before he speaks, which is ironic because he's on a podcast where he's got to ramble and speak and stuff like that, which is probably why it challenges him so much, is because he's trained himself so well to gather himself before he just blurts some stuff out, which I'm the complete opposite. I'll just blurt some shit out and then later pay for it. And so
that's so funny because I was going to reciprocate that same, note as far as like challenging me to express my thoughts and opinions unabashedly, without filter. But yeah, at the same time, that's why I think it's a good balance, that we sort of share with that. Because and then Sal too. I mean, just being that inner confidence, but it's not like a cocky confidence. It's not like a put you down confidence. It's something. It's a self-belief. I feel like I've had a self-belief, but I've never had it to where I could express myself and like carry myself like the way you do. I really admire that about you. And it's more just like, like you've really like come into your own and you believe in yourself. Like I want more self-belief, and I'm striving to be more like that.
That's funny you say that because I think you're probably I view you as being one of the most confident people I know. But your confidence is I guess I can see what you're saying.
Expressed differently.
Yeah, you don't speak it out. You just kind of like we fuck with each other all the time. We make fun of each other. People make fun of us on our social media. We've opened ourselves up to that. And we all laugh at it, and none of us really get our feelings hurt with that. But Justin's very much Justin. He doesn't change anything just because, other people think it's cool or they think whatever, or change his opinion because he's just who he is, and it's very solid. And, I think both of you guys actually share that trait. I think all of us do in our own way, but Justin's is a very silent, solid version of it. And you can feel it when you're around people like that. When you sit around people like that, if you're an insecure person, you're going to want to, boast even more or show yourself even more. And Justin doesn't waver. He just kind of sits there and does his thing. And it's a very calm confidence. And I think we all kind of share that a little bit. The other thing I learned from you guys is just to examine my training. I've always been open-minded with training, but much more so since working with you guys, especially on the mobility piece and on functional exercise piece. I also appreciate, the way you guys challenge things. I really like that. I really like the different viewpoints that you guys bring, and it's always good. It's almost never where I hear Adam or Justin have an opinion on something that's counter to what most people are thinking. I can't think of a single time where I heard you guys say something and I went, well, that's dumb. It's almost like, oh shit, I never really thought of it that way. I could definitely confidently say you're both very outside the box thinkers, which I really appreciate. The big thing I appreciate about Justin, because you're confident and you're silent, you're willing to do a bunch of shit that is going to challenge you, but you do it anyway. You end up doing it anyway. I really like watching Adam in a crowd. I really enjoy watching him do that. He has a good time when he's around a lot of people, and I do really, really well in small crowds or if I'm talking to a crowd, but not necessarily at a party in a crowd. I tend to be the one who I'll move over and talk to someone else and hang out on my own. And Adam is very, very, he walks around the room and has a great time and can have conversation with everybody. And so I enjoy observing it. And I try to be a little bit of a chameleon where one thing that I tend to do is I watch people, and if they do something that I like, I first try to copy it and then I try to develop it as my own. And I've done that a lot. So much so that it's hard to even specifically remember the specific things. Because like you said, we're becoming homogenized. Yeah,
I've taken a lot from both of you guys.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, no, there's definitely things like that. I remember, and we've seen these growth moments in the show and with the YouTube channel, especially that one. That was really uncomfortable for me. It surprised me how uncomfortable the YouTube channel was. I thought, like you're saying, that in a crowd and with people, I'm an extrovert. I don't mind being put on the spot like that and having to talk in front of people. It's never got me nervous or freaked out. I thrive in that space. So I thought when we turned the cameras on and did the YouTube that I would just naturally fall into it, and I really didn't. And so that's something that I've definitely leaned on Sal a lot, and there's been a lot of stuff that I feel like he's led the way, and just the way you carry yourself, the way you also have this incredible trait that, like Justin was saying, is extremely confident, but then also very, very humble. And I think everybody is kind of like this, you know. And I think that where it's a constant reminder, because when you are really confident, being someone who's extremely confident, you flirt with cockiness.
Yeah.
When you're extremely humble, you probably flirt with being too reserved and quiet sometimes. So we kind of have this nice way of, because everyone has little bits of strengths in different areas that we all take from each other. So I'm just joking, but I really think that we have become very homogenized about it. I mean, I catch myself doing this all the time, where I'm rattling off something and I'm literally verbatim probably saying something that Sal said the other day, but I'm owning it as if it was mine, and I catch him doing the same thing all the time too. Yeah. And it's
in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
It's in my wheelhouse.
But I mean,
long-time listeners will know
there's other little traits too that, like, so I mean, we were talking about like a lot of skills and things that we like about each other, but Sal and Justin, both of this, are definitely family men. Their family come first. And I'm not that way. This is not a strength and a trait of mine. I'm because of my past and the way I grew up, it's not something that is a strength of mine at all. And having that in front of me on a daily basis, and Doug is included in this conversation too, because he's an incredible father. And so seeing that, for me, I've picked up on those traits, and it's bled into my family and the way, like, I communicate with my siblings, and the way I even communicate with Katrina and her family. And so I've definitely picked up a lot of those good traits from you guys, and I think that's been something that's evolved me as a person. I think everybody in here is very growth minded in their own area, which is awesome that we're not growth minded in the same exact departments. Like, sometimes I get frustrated, right? Like when I think that I want everybody to do something, like I want everyone to read this book, or I want everyone to do this thing because we all need to be on this page. And I get a little frustrated at first, and then I realize, like, fuck, why do I want that? I don't want, that's my thing. If I like doing that, I'll push and accelerate in there. And it's like, there's certain things that Sal or Justin do that I fucking have no desire to do and push. So it's a really cool dynamic, and we really do pick up on each other's traits to the point where there's a little bit of all of us in each person, I think, literally.
I think, and it's some of those things that you recognize are strengths, like really super strengths that you guys have, that I'm like, I want that, but it's not me, specifically. But I do end up like challenging myself and stretching myself as a human being to get better in different directions, because I am very growth-minded. You guys are very growth-minded. I think that's where, the confidence thing is unique, because very confident and very, assertive, but at the same time, very willing to be wrong and very willing to listen to a counter viewpoint, which is not typical amongst any friends I've ever had, so that's a unique thing.
Well, it's to be, when you're really confident, then you're okay with not being the best or not being right. That's what real confidence is. Fake confidence is I have to be the one that's right. I have to be the best. I have to be, and what I mean by that is it's okay to want to be the best and to be, of course, I think all of us share that also. But when you're not looking at the guy who won and saying, fuck that guy, or what you're looking at him going, what did he do? And I'm going to do that. And that's what real confidence kind of is like. And it's a weird feeling to have to work with people that you can completely depend on, like completely. I never have a doubt in my mind if there's something that is being done by one of my partners that I don't look at and I don't have to touch or whatever, that I know that shit is going to get done and it's going to get done well. It's a very strange feeling. I've never been in a situation like that where I've worked with people where I'm just totally confident. Like, I know if one of you guys is going to go off to do something, like, oh, they're handling it.
It was a growth moment I think it was actually, there was a point where, because everyone's a leader in here, where everyone had to kind of let go of that. I think there was a point where we're all used to having to oversee, overlook, have our hands in, be a part of. And it's like, as the business has evolved and scaled and we've grown, we've become more and more comfortable with that. It's just saying, like, hey, I know I could go do that. Like, I know I can do that job. I know I can do that job too, but I'm not the best guy in it. So fuck it. I don't even need to be a part of it. I don't need to be a part of it. I don't need to deal with it. I need to overlook it. I don't need to see it. Like, I know Sal's 10 times better. I know Justin's 10 times better. I know Doug's 10 times better at that. Even though I can do all of it, I don't need to be a part of it. I need to what I need to do is I need to focus on the things, one, that I enjoy doing within the business, right? And continue to push and accelerate at that and let go. There was a moment, I think, where we did this a lot of, like, we conversed over everything. Every time a decision was
we had
made.
all three of us together and every little thing we did.
Right. I think there was a point there, and you could see that in the YouTube channel. Look at the YouTube channel we used to do. That was one of the first critiques that we got, and then I think that we learned that wasn't an ideal way to do that. We thought it would be cool because we like to do everything together, and it's like, well, fuck it. It's like if the audience isn't getting the most out of it, they're not liking it the most, then why the fuck are all three of us doing it? One of these guys can go do this, while the other two could be doing other things. So there's been a lot of things like that, where we've allowed the guys with, the guy with the strength or the better traits for that job duty. And I think
that's a real team.
Yeah.
That's like a real team. You look at a football team, you have your people who play their positions, and they're all excellent at them. And they're all such great athletes, they could probably play each other's positions. But a wide receiver is not going to be as good at protecting the quarterback as a lineman, even though both of them are extreme athletes. And I think that's kind of what a real team is like. And when you have equal partners, it's very difficult to find that, because when you have equal partners, a lot of times everybody wants to be the man, or nobody wants to be the man. Sometimes you run into that too, and that can become an issue. One thing about Doug, I want to say, when we first started the podcast, and even till this day, Doug has really recognized to let us kind of be ourselves on the podcast, and when we do certain things, even though sometimes he grits his teeth, or he gets a little like, oh shit, what are they going to say now? But he's always been, as the producer, he's got especially in the beginning, he had a lot of power to say, I don't think we should do that. Right. We should cut that out. And Doug is very much like, well, that's your flavor. That's what you want to say. Let's do it. And sometimes he'll give us his input, but he does a great job of kind of directing things sometimes without even making us feel like that's what's happening. You know what I mean? And it's absolutely brilliant. It's
steering.
Do you guys think there's been parts of the business that we've had, or you personally have struggled with letting go of? Like, I remember teasing Doug for a long time. Like, it was so hard to get Doug to let go of all the tasks that he does. Still to this day, if I had to say anyone struggles with letting go of tasks, I think it's Doug, which is a great trait, right? The fact that we have this killer who just wants to do everything, but the business has grown so much that it's impossible for Doug to handle all those things anymore. And so prying them out of his hands to give to somebody else, and then watching that transition is always entertaining for me. Have you guys felt that in the business yourself? Have there been things that you felt like you've finally you know what? Fuck it. I don't even want to do it.
When I feel that, it's not because I don't want to let it go. It's because I enjoy, there may be something that I enjoy doing.
That's what I mean. Even something that because that's I think that's the case with all of us. There's parts of the business that, hey, I like doing that too, but it's like, maybe I'm not the best guy for that. Who cares?
I like being I like to be on mics, and I like to be on camera. Those two things I enjoy doing. And so, I would automatically want to be able to be on camera to deliver what I'm going to say, or be on a mic and talk. Those are my favorite things to do. We all do that. So that's something that we all share. The writing and the content, that's not an issue, because I think you guys don't like doing that. I don't think most people don't like to do that.
That's also
even I can sometimes.
That's also been an incredible trait about you, is that I know you don't love that. I mean, I'm not stupid. I don't know anybody that really loves it. Just maybe if you didn't like the camera and the mic, you might love to do that. But very few people love to sit down and just grind and write. You're just the fucking best at it. I know Justin can do it. I know I can do it. I had to. As a trainer, you have to be able to have that knowledge and that education and put it on paper. But for me, that just takes 10 hours to create something that you can create in 20 minutes.
Right.
So,
I tell you what, learning a process that was, because if I feel inspired to write or create something, it'll just come out of me, and it's fucking great. If I don't feel inspired, oh my God, man, I got to sit there and make it happen. And that is what I've learned to do that I didn't do before. Because in the past, if I wrote something, it's because I felt like it. And if I didn't do it at all. But now I'm learning how to outline things, write them out, make it happen. That's been a little bit difficult. I think I've just watching you guys do that too on your own end. Yeah. It's been pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too. I look at my strengths and my weaknesses, and things that I feel like I can improve and get better. And so I'm my biggest hurdle, I guess, this is a sports analogy, but I don't like being benched, I fucking hate being benched. And I've done it for a season or two, and I've learned a lot in that experience, and that's carried with me. And thank God it did, because now I can recognize, that there's other people more talented than me in certain directions, right? And so, so for instance, for YouTube, like that's one of those things. Like I painfully want to be better. Like I want so bad to be better and to convey information and to deliver it and be punctual and have this sort of have it just all come to me. It just happens. I remember struggling with the podcast, but it's I had times, I had reps, I had that's something I could practice and work on every day. And so but at the same time, I don't enjoy teaching people through video. I don't enjoy that. That came across, I don't enjoy that. I like making people laugh, and I like, lightening it up. And that's just sort of more of my wheelhouse, if you will. But so I'm figuring that out, and that's been a struggle of mine. But at the same time, I recognize how talented you guys are at it, and it makes me happy, that the business, can thrive in that direction. But I'll tell you what, it's been fucking hard because I am not a benched athlete.
Yeah, I don't think of it like that. What's funny is I don't think I've had a hard time. I'm Mr. Delegate. I love to delegate. But what I am though is I'll also do every job too. So I love to come in and even when we first got into editing and I saw that was going to be a hurdle. I went out, I fucking bought the software. I was at home. I was fucking around with my GoPro, teaching myself to do it because I want to know how to do it, to know, one, how hard it is to do it, what it should take to be able to do it. So then again, I could teach somebody else to do it and make them do it. I like that. So I actually don't mind letting go. I've always had that's part of what has accelerated me as a leader is being okay with that. It's being okay with, and this is something I'm always pushing Doug in this direction of this is the ultimate place to get into leadership is when you're okay with that. That you can do this job. You can do all parts of it if you need to, but then empowering somebody else to step into that role. And so I don't think of it as a bench, even the editing. What I know is that I could do something like that if I needed to, and I understand the job, but I want to see the best man or woman in this facility run that. And even the YouTube videos, I don't want to do the YouTube videos. As of right now, I'm one of the better ones out of all of us to do the YouTube videos. I don't want to fucking do them. I can't wait the day that we have this younger generation that comes up that like your daughter who loves to be on that platform, loves to do all those things, and I can let them flourish and be in there. I'll take a back seat real quick. I got no problem stepping out of that role. And and the same thing goes for every other position that we've created at one point, from Taylor's to Katrina's to all these positions to Ann's, all these people within the facility and stuff. I've done all the roles. I've played all those parts of it just enough to know what we need to know inside that business. But I'll let go of it real quick.
Yeah. I've been getting better at that.
Yeah. This is the piece.
It's an ego thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you just kind of get used to okay, you recognize things are working. Let's not mess with that.
I think that the when you look at great teams and great, whether it's sports, business, bands, whatever, what always fucks them up is egos. It's always what fucks them
100%,
up. Always, every single time. And if you can put that aside and recognize that any win is a win for everybody and any loss is a loss for everybody, and that it's all moving towards the same direction and you're comfortable with who you are, you're going to be okay. It's when the egos start to clash and the people start to feel like they need to do this and the other person needs to do that and I'm in charge and you're not, and that's when you start to have problems, and that's when great things fail. And I will be damned if I allow that to happen with anything that I'm involved in, especially with you guys, knowing what the ultimate purpose behind Mind Pump is and what we started this for, which is, I feel like, a higher purpose bigger than us.
I think it's too late for that to even be possible. I really do. And someone probably listening thinks that's crazy for me to say that, but I think the way we all look at this literally like our baby, and we've already raised it to be a young child already. It's not a infant anymore. It's a growing young adult that's growing up right now, and we're all so proud of it. And all of us are that exact the same. The way you guys father your kids is all you put your ego aside, and you guys have this ability, which I think is so awesome. I think we all have that same thing in business. Like we all look at the business as if it was our child, and truly like as if it was our child. That the success of it, the growth of it, and the future of it is far greater than any of our individual egos. And that is a trait that I think everybody here shares, and is the reason why it's been so successful.
Absolutely. And you know what else I want to say?
What?
The MAPS Performance 50% off sale.
Such a closer.
Our pitch man.
Yeah. It's 50% off.
He does
ends
the best.
tonight.
Yeah.
That's it. Ends at midnight. So MAPS Performance still half off after tonight at midnight. It is no longer 50% off. You have to use the code GREEN50, GREEN, and the number 50, all one word, at mindpumpmedia.com.
Thank you for listening to Mind Pump. If your goal is to build and shape your body, dramatically improve your health and energy, and maximize your overall performance, check out our discounted RGB Super Bundle at mindpumpmedia.com. The RGB Super Bundle includes MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Performance, and MAPS Aesthetic. 9 months of phased expert exercise programming designed by Sal, Adam, and Justin to systematically transform the way your body looks, feels, and performs. With detailed workout blueprints and over 200 videos, the RGB Super Bundle is like having Sal, Adam, and Justin as your own personal trainers, but at a fraction of the price. The RGB Super Bundle has a full 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can get it now plus other valuable free resources at mindpumpmedia.com. If you enjoy this show, please share the love by leaving us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes and by introducing Mind Pump to your friends and family. We thank you for your support, and until next time, this is Mind Pump.